This week on Stompbox Saturday, we're not using any amps. Why? Because we're checking out the MAKO ACS1 from Walrus Audio. What's going on, my friends? It's your old pal SeanPierceJohnson, and welcome back to Stompbox Saturday. Hope you guys had an awesome week and are getting ready to look at our deep dive into the MAKO ACS1. You know, this was totally out of left field when Walrus sent me the email before NAMM time this past year. I was assuming the reverb was a natural fit for the MAKO series, and maybe even a modulation, but amp and cab sims in one pedal? Not on my bingo card for this year. So let's just get right down to business because there's a lot to cover with this. Let's go ahead and throw it up on the screen and take a look at everything that we need to know and explore the sounds. At first glance, you might be thinking to yourself, because of its beautiful anodized gold enclosure, that we might just be treated to, say, like a Marshall-y kind of thing. Not so fast there, hotshot. This thing plays host to 3 different amplifier sounds called Fullerton, London, and Dartford, each representing Fender, Marshall, and Vox, respectively. And each of them is controlled by the 6 knobs. 3-band EQ with bass, mid, treble, volume, gain, and a room control. Now, the room control is a really cool addition. It's a room reverb or room ambiance kind of addition, basically allowing you to add a little bit of that kind of roomy vibe in order to open up the guitar sounds considerably. This is really the secret weapon control of this pedal. And of course, like the other MAKO series pedals we've taken a look at, we have the 3 toggle switches underneath the 2 rows of knobs. We have the cab control with A, B, and C positions. We have the L plus and R switch and the Fullerton London Dartford switch. Now, obviously working from the right over, Fullerton London Dartford, that's how you select which of the amp models that you're going to be able to call up and use. The cab control, 3 different cabs that we have right there at our disposal. But if you press and hold down on the bypass foot switch and move that switch while holding down on it, it allows you access to a further 3 cab models, which is pretty nice. 3 different amps and 6 different cab models that Walrus has curated for us. Pretty cool. But the real magic of this pedal lies in the L plus and R switch. In its center position, you are basically taking control of the entire stereo spectrum. What you do in that position affects both the left channel and the right channel of your stereo field. But when you isolate it by flicking to the left or to the right, you have control over that part of the signal chain. So you can essentially set up 1 amp cab combination on the left, 1 amp cab combination on the right, and be treated to a beautiful stereo spread, stereo field that is just... However, the tone shaping options don't end with those knobs and those switches. There is a built-in boost function, which you turn on and off with the boost foot switch on the right bottom of the pedal, and use the volume and the gain controls in order to set what that boost is going to be doing, either giving you just a little bit more vibe and compression and not so much clipping or extra distortion, and then of course upping the volume. Really nice. And then when you turn it off, it remembers where you set that so that you can turn it on and off at your leisure. The final 2 things that I really feel like make the ACS1 a big time package is the inclusion of not only an 1/8" headphone out for you to practice silently in headphones by yourself, but it's also the little USB jack that we see on the side of the pedal. Now, what exactly are we gonna get there? Well, there's a brand new website called walrusaudio.io that if you hook this pedal up to your computer, you can load into any of the 6 cab slots your very own impulse responses. You don't have to use the ones that Walrus provides for you if you don't want to. You can use ones that you're comfortable with, use ones that you enjoy, and although I haven't experimented with that myself, I can see me having a lot of fun doing that. All right, we've spent far too long talking. We need to actually hear how this pedal sounds. Let's start by dialing in a clean tone and a crunchy tone with each of the 3 amp sims that are on the ACS1. I'm gonna pair it up with a different speaker cab for each one and basically just go for the right combination as I see fit. So as you've heard, the core sound is pretty darn good, which is awesome, and it feels really good to play through. And that's really the sort of X factor of digital amp simulators. If they don't have the right feel, you're just gonna have a bad time, and we don't wanna have a bad time when we play guitar. We wanna have good times, real good times. And thankfully, we have a lot of good times here. Clean to crunch sounds in both the Fender, Marshall, and Vox category. You know, they've already tried to send me cease and desist letters once. I don't want them to send me another one. However, we also heard that we can't really get high gain tones out of the ACS1. Maybe that's something Walrus will think about for a future firmware update. I know personally I'd like to hear some high gain equivalents of Fullerton, London, and Dartford. Might I recommend Mesa, Friedman, and I don't know. What is the high gain equivalent of Dartford these days? So with all of that out of the way, I want to show you how valuable this room control is. How even just adding a little bit can really open up this pedal for you and give you maybe a little bit more overall vibe and maybe even just improve the tone that you've dialed in already. To really show you the magic of the room control, I've dialed in a pretty chunky plexi-ish kind of sound using the London model and a 412 cab emulation on the ACS1. Now let's just, for giggles, let's hear the DI guitar sound of my Jennings Navigator just going into 2 preamps on my PreSonus Studio 192. Yeah, you love it. No, you don't. You want something that actually sounds good. Let's turn that on. And you can hear it just kind of stops, but it's chunky, it's thick, but it just feels a little stiff. There's no breath in those lungs. We need to add a little bit. So I'm just gonna barely open up the room control and play those same chords. It's not much, it's just a little bit, but I already feel like the sound has opened up considerably and things just feel a little bit more vibey, a little softer around the edges too. I'm gonna go ahead and put it up about 10 o'clock now. And now we really start to feel that sound of the room, and it's kind of cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And as I showed you, just a little bit can really start opening things up. And this comes in especially handy with what we're going to do now. I'm gonna put a bunch of pedals in front of the ACS1, and we're really going to see how well Several of the different models on the ACS1 can handle pedals for a variety of different situations. This is, after all, supposed to technically be something you could replace your amp with, so it better work like a traditional guitar amp, right? All right, let's see how far we can push the ACS1 by taking the usual pedal suspects and running them into the ACS1. First up on the docket, why, of course, the Tube Screamer. And I don't actually have an Ibanez Tube Screamer, but I got the next best thing, the JHS Bonsai. So let's run the JHS Bonsai in the TS10 mode into the ACS1 on a Fender-style clean tone from the Fullerton amp sound. Now let's try something for the dad rockers out there. Something in the vein of like 1960s classic blues rock, you know, Clapton-y stuff, John Mayall Blues Breakers. After all, the London model on here is modeled after a Blues Breaker Marshall. So let's run a treble booster from the Strymon Compadre into the London model with a Marshall 412 cab emulation. Doing something kind of dad rocky, I guess. Time to cut the crap and get to the real business. Because this thing can't do high gain, we need to make sure that it can handle a high gain pedal. And I can't think of anyone better than the REVV G3. So it's time for some 7-string riffing time. Let's get to it. that was certainly surprising. But now let's just go for overkill. Every single MAKO series pedal on this pedal board with a couple other favorites, and really go deep into the soundscaping world and how you can really take advantage of the stereo spread on the ACS1. Now we've brought out the big guns. All the MAKO pedals, the REVV G3, Strymon Compadre, Boss TU3, of course, to keep us in tune, to really just show you how much you can get away with the ACS1, and also further show you how this room control can just really work some magic. Now I've set up a nice little stereo field thing for us with 1 amp style and cab combination on one side, and another one completely different on the other. So let's hear the left and the right of that. Now let's add on delay from the MAKO D1. But let's try something a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and put the L plus R switch in the middle position. Now I'm going to sweep the room control and add a little bit of that room ambience to just give the echoes a little bit more air to play around with. Let's make it further washy with the R1 in the BFR mode. Just that little increase made it feel like the size of the room that we're playing in got a little bit bigger. Just the audio artifact of using that room, the psychoacoustic response that you have as the player is pretty astounding. Gonna add on a little bit of compression, and let's just vibe on this for a little while, huh? Let's have some fun. Let's just play. And with that, my friends, our look at the ACS1 from Walrus Audio's MAKO series has officially come to a close. And I must say, I am very pleasantly surprised by it. Like I said at the top of the video, this was not a pedal that I thought was going to be coming to the MAKO series within the first couple years of its existence. And this is really new territory for Walrus. They've not done anything like this before, but they've very clearly done their homework to make sure that the amp models feel and sound really good, and then carefully curate a selection of cabs that they like. And it's really a testament that they've done only just a few amp models and a small grouping of cabs. They're not trying to overload you with features. They're just trying to give you the best that they have so that you can be happy when you fork over the cash for it. My only real gripe is that I can't really get high gain tones out of it, but this thing handles high gain distortion pedals pretty well, so I guess I can just deal with that for the time being. Deal with it. Like, that's a problem for me. Anyway, this is something that I really feel like you can get a lot of use out of it, provided that you're willing to spend your money on it. Not necessarily in the live context, because let's face it, we are still in this really weird period of history right now. We don't know when gigging is going to return, but using it at home, in our practice and recording studios, something that we can plug into and consistently get great tone and record it to our DAW or other recording interface, recording equipment, to create something beautiful. The world is sad right now, and it needs some beautiful music, and I think we're the ones to make that happen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please help show your support by clicking the thumbs up button, sharing a link to it with a guitar playing friend of yours, and of course, clicking that subscribe button when you see it and ringing the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Stompbox Saturday. Until next time, my friends, I'm SeanPierceJohnson, and I wish you all watching great tone, great health, and of course, happy stomping. Cheers, friends. I'll see you next time, and God bless.